Thank you, Senator Villanueva. Secretary will please call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senator Aquino, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lacson, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcoleta, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pangilinan, Senator Soto, Senator Tulfo Erwin, Senator Tulfo Rafi, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Camil, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Zubiri, the Senate President.
With 23 senators present, Chair hereby declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, we have a number of guests present here today. Guests of Senator Marcoleta, Ms. Cathy Binag, guests of Senator Pangilinan, Governor Trina Firmalo, and Mayor Rosco Plaza of Nasipit, Agusan del Norte, guests of this representation as well. Guests of the Senate, delegation from the Mindanao State University in Marawi, headed by Assistant Professor Muhammad Faizar Alonto. Guests of Senator Lapid and this representation, LGU officials of Duero, Bohol, led by Mayor Al Taculad. Guests of Senator Gatchalian and Aquino, LGU officials of Infanta Quezon, led by Mayor L.A. Ruanto. Guests of this representation, Liga ng mga Barangay of Camarines Norte, headed by Councilor Nelmar De Feo of Talisay, Camarines Norte. Guests of Senator Ejercito, Councilor Jeric Reyes and Sangguniang Bayan Secretary Ros Elison of the Municipality of Pateros. And guests of Senator Marcos from Zamboanga City, Barangay Chairman Michael Umaga, Councilor L. King Umaga, and Mr. Jervil Umaga. We welcome all of them in this august chamber, Mr. President.
To our aforementioned guests, welcome to your Senate. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, before we continue, may I take this moment to greet our distinguished colleague, a happy victorious birthday, Senator Rodante Marcoleta. May I move for a minute suspension so we can all greet him and remind him of our tradition, Mr. President.
To our distinguished colleague, Chair would like to greet him. Happiest of birthdays. Session is suspended. Thank you, Senator Villanueva. Secretary will please call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senator Aquino, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lacson, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcoleta, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pangilinan, Senator Soto, Senator Tulfo Erwin, Senator Tulfo Rafi, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Camil, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Zubiri, the Senate President.
With 23 senators present, Chair hereby declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, we have a number of guests present here today. Guests of Senator Marcoleta, Ms. Cathy Binag, guests of Senator Pangilinan, Governor Trina Firmalo, and Mayor Rosco Plaza of Nasipit, Agusan del Norte, guests of this representation as well. Guests of the Senate, delegation from the Mindanao State University in Marawi, headed by Assistant Professor Muhammad Faizar Alonto. Guests of Senator Lapid and this representation, LGU officials of Duero, Bohol, led by Mayor Al Taculad. Guests of Senator Gatchalian and Aquino, LGU officials of Infanta Quezon, led by Mayor L.A. Ruanto. Guests of this representation, Liga ng mga Barangay of Camarines Norte, headed by Councilor Nelmar De Feo of Talisay, Camarines Norte. Guests of Senator Ejercito, Councilor Jeric Reyes and Sangguniang Bayan Secretary Ros Elison of the Municipality of Pateros. And guests of Senator Marcos from Zamboanga City, Barangay Chairman Michael Umaga, Councilor L. King Umaga, and Mr. Jervil Umaga. We welcome all of them in this august chamber, Mr. President.
To our aforementioned guests, welcome to your Senate. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, before we continue, may I take this moment to greet our distinguished colleague, a happy victorious birthday, Senator Rodante Marcoleta. May I move for a minute suspension so we can all greet him and remind him of our tradition, Mr. President.
To our distinguished colleague, Chair would like to greet him. Happiest of birthdays. Session is suspended. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I think the Senate President would like to brief the body as to what happened to our caucus this afternoon.
Not to really brief the body, but rather place on record the agreement arrived upon in caucus earlier to set on a date certain the disposition of the matter pertaining to the Supreme Court decision in relation to the impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte. For the record, it was agreed in caucus that the matter will be decided upon by the Senate on August 6, 2025, when we open session on that date, in order to afford ample and sufficient time to the members to study the 97-page Supreme Court decision, excluding the concurring and separate opinions filed by 5 or 6 additional magistrates of the Supreme Court. For the record and for the information of all the members of the Senate, some of whom may not have been present when this was agreed upon.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Majority Leader.
President. Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the first session, Monday, July 28, 2025, and consider the same as approved.
Any objection? Hearing none. What is the pleasure of Senator Zubiri?
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, before we approve it, I may have made a mistake on my nomination of Senator, our Minority Floor Leader. He was, just for the record, I may have said he was Vice Mayor in 1998. He was Vice Mayor at 1988. And as well as, he was also a Minority Floor Leader, not just a Deputy Minority Floor Leader. Just to put that on record. Thank you, Mr. President.
Noted and accordingly corrected. Thank you, Senator Zubiri. Any other reservations on the approval of the journal? There being none, acting on the motion of the Majority Floor Leader, the aforestated journal is hereby approved.
Mr.
Majority Leader?
President, with the permission of the body, I move that we proceed with the reference of business. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Secretary General is directed to comply.
Bills on first reading. Senate Number 1, an act appropriating the sum of 74,431,930,000 pesos, a supplemental appropriations for fiscal year 2025 and for other purposes. Senator Ejercito.
To the Committee on Rules.
Senate Bill Number 2, mandating the formulation and institutionalization of a comprehensive infrastructure development master plan, establishing the master plan for infrastructure and national development, Mine Council, appropriating funds therefore. Senator Ejercito.
To the Committees on Economic Affairs, Public Works, and Finance.
Senate Number 3, amending Republic Act Number 11223, the Universal Healthcare Act. Senator Ejercito.
To the Committees on Health and Demography, Migrant Workers, and Finance.
Senate Number 4, providing for the Magna Carta of Barangay Health Workers. Senator Ejercito.
To the Committees on Health and Demography, Local Government, and Finance.
Senate Bill Number 5, providing for the automatic suspension of excise taxes on regular gasoline, unleaded premium gasoline, and diesel, amending Section 148 of the NIRC as amended. Senator Ejercito.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
Senate Number 6, providing for a 250 pesos across-the-board increase in the daily minimum wage of employees and workers in the private sector. Senator Ejercito.
To the Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development.
Senate Number 7, strengthening the security of tenure of workers in the private sector, amending Articles 106, 107, 108, 109, and 294 of PD 442, the Labor Code of the Philippines as amended. Senator Ejercito.
To the Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development.
Senate Number 8, mandating the establishment of agri-food terminals and trading centers in every province, providing funds therefore and for other purposes. Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, Local Government, and Finance.
Senate Bill Number 9, establishing a commuter-centered policy framework for transportation policy, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Public Services, Public Works, and Finance.
Senate Bill Number 10, an act allowing and regulating the use of motorcycles as public utility vehicles and for other purposes. Senator Ejercito.
To the Committees on Public Services and Ways and Means.
11, amending RA 8371, the Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act of 1997. Senator Padilla.
To the Committee on Cultural Communities and Muslim Affairs.
12, providing for a 150 pesos minimum wage increase for employees and workers in the private sector. Senator Padilla.
To the Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development.
13, abolishing the travel tax on Filipinos and on nationals of Association of Southeast Asian Member States traveling to other ASEAN member states. Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Ways and Means and Tourism.
14, expanding the grounds for dissolution of marriage, instituting divorce and setting the procedures thereof, providing protections to the parties to the marriage and its common children, amending for the purpose EO 209 or the Family Code of the Philippines, Senator Padilla.
To the Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality.
Senate Bill number 15, providing for the medicalization of cannabis, expanding access to medical cannabis as a means of medical treatment, expanding research into its medicinal properties, enumerating prohibited acts and prescribing penalties thereto, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Health and Demography, Public Order, and Dangerous Drugs and Finance.
16, an act mandating the unified certification of halal products, processes, and services in the Philippines and for other purposes, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Cultural Communities and Muslim Affairs and Finance.
Senate Bill number 17, mandating the establishment of Muslim prayers rooms in all public offices and establishments, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Cultural Communities and Muslim Affairs and Finance.
18, defining and prohibiting political dynasties, providing penalties therefore and for other purposes, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation and Constitutional Amendments and Revision of Codes.
19, strengthening the early childhood care and development system, amending pertinent sections of RA 10410, otherwise known as the Early Years Act of 2013, appropriating funds therefore, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Basic Education, Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality and Finance.
Senate Bill number 20, establishing at least one nursing home per city or province for senior citizens, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Social Justice, Welfare and Rural Development, Government and Local Government and Finance.
21, regulating the manufacture, importation, sale, distribution, use, advertisement, promotion, and sponsorship of electronic nicotine delivery systems and electronic non-nicotine delivery systems, heated tobacco products, and other imitation tobacco products, repealing for the purpose RA 11900, otherwise known as the Vaporized Nicotine and Non-Nicotine Products Regulation Act, Senator Cayetano P.
To the Committees on Health and Demography, Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
22, an act providing a scholarship and return service program for future allied health professionals and appropriating funds therefore, Senator Cayetano P.
To the Committees on Higher Technical and Vocational Education, Health and Demography, and Finance.
23, providing for spousal and child support and for other purposes, Senator Cayetano P.
To the Committees on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality and Finance.
24, institutionalizing active transport by establishing a safe pathways network of bicycle lanes, walkways, and slow streets and for other purposes, Senator Cayetano P.
To the Committees on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation, and Future Thinking, Public Works, and Finance.
25, regulating the development and use of artificial intelligence systems in the Philippines, promoting ethical and responsible artificial intelligence innovation and integrating sustainability and future thinking in national policy making and for other purposes, Senator Cayetano P.
To the Committees on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation, and Future Thinking, Science and Technology, and Finance.
26, strengthening the tertiary education subsidy, amending Section 7 of RA 10931, the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Act, Senator Cayetano P.
To the Committee on Higher Technical and Vocational Education.
27, exempting from taxes all incentives, rewards, bonuses, emoluments, donations, gifts, endowments, and contributions received by national athletes and coaches who win international sports competitions, amending RA 10699, the National Athletes and Coaches Benefits and Incentives Act, Senator Cayetano P.
To the Committee on Sports and Ways and Means.
28, promoting gender equality by amending discriminatory provisions against women, amending Articles 14, 96, 124, 211, and 225 of the Family Code, repealing Articles 247, 333, and 334 of the Revised Penal Code, and adding new articles to the RPC and for other purposes, Senator Cayetano P.
To the Committees on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality, and Constitutional Amendments and Revision of Codes.
29, prohibiting the possession and use of heated tobacco products and vapor products, including its consumables and devices in all educational institutions, providing penalties therefore and for other purposes, Senator Cayetano P.
To the Committees on Health and Demography and Basic Education.
30, an act prohibiting online gambling in the Philippines, prescribing penalties therefore and for other purposes, Senators Cayetano P. and Cayetano A.P.
To the Committee on Games and Amusement.
31, an act expanding the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program, amending RA 11310, otherwise known as the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Programs Act, Senator Lacson.
To the Committees on Social Justice, Welfare and Rural Development, and Finance.
32, institutionalizing the participation of civil society organizations in the preparation and authorization process of the annual national budget, providing effective mechanisms therefore and for other purposes, Senator Lacson.
To the Committees on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation and Finance.
33, defining and penalizing espionage and other similar offenses against national security, Senator Lacson.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation.
34, establishing a national scholarship and return service program for students in agriculture and allied fields who are children or dependents of farmers, to be known as Kabataang Magsasaka Scholarship Act, appropriating funds therefore, Senator Lacson.
To the Committees on Higher Technical and Vocational Education, Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, and Finance.
35, prohibiting the establishment of political dynasties, Senator Lacson.
To the Committees on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation, Constitutional Amendments, and Revision of Codes.
36, prescribing the order of succession in case of death, permanent disability, removal from office, or resignation of the President, Senator Lacson.
To the Committees on Constitutional Amendments and Revision of Codes.
37, providing for voluntary membership in the Government Service Insurance System, amending RA 8291, the GSIS System Act of 1997, Senator Lacson.
To the Committee on Government Corporations and Public Enterprises.
38, an act further strengthening the secrecy of bank deposits law, amending RA 1405, the secrecy of bank deposits law as amended, Senator Lacson.
To the Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies.
39, amending Republic Act 11055, the Philippine Identification System Act of 2017, Senator Lacson.
To the Committees on Justice and Human Rights and Public Information and Mass Media.
40, regulating the use of social media platforms by minors, imposing age restrictions, providing penalties for violations thereof, and for other purposes, Senator Lacson.
To the Committees on Science and Technology and Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality.
41, strengthening workers' right to security of tenure, amending Articles 106, 107, 108, and 109 of Book 3 and Articles 294, 295, 296, and 297 of Book 6 of PD 442, the Labor Code of the Philippines, as amended, Senator Villanueva.
To the Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development.
42, providing protection to freelancers and for other purposes, Senator Villanueva.
To the Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development.
43, providing for a wage employment assistance program for displaced, marginalized, and vulnerable workers, institutionalizing for this purpose the Tulong Paghahanap Buhay sa Ating Disadvantaged Displaced Workers, TUPAD, program of the Department of Labor and Employment, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator Villanueva.
To the Committees on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development, and Finance.
44, establishing the standards for a living wage, amending PD 442, the Labor Code of the Philippines, as amended, Senator Villanueva.
To the Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development.
45, expanding the use of the Legal Assistance Fund, amending Section 26 of RA 8042, the Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos Act of 1995, Senator Villanueva.
The Committee on Migrant Workers.
46, an act enhancing the medical access of overseas Filipino workers and their families by strengthening the OFW hospital and appropriating funds therefore, Senator Villanueva.
The Committees on Health and Demography, Migrant Workers, Ways and Means, and Finance.
47, prohibiting online gambling and the placing of wagers or bets through the internet or any form of online gambling activities, providing penalties therefore and for other purposes, Senator Villanueva.
To the Committee on Games and Amusement.
48, protecting the right of the people to freedom of religion in the Philippines, guaranteed under Section 5, Article 3 of the 1987 Constitution and for other purposes, Senator Villanueva.
The Committees on Justice and Human Rights and Cultural Communities and Muslim Affairs.
49, implementing the people's right to information and the constitutional policies of full public disclosure and honesty in public service, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator Villanueva.
To the Committees on Public Information and Mass Media, Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation, and Finance.
50, an act creating the National Independent Commission Against Corruption, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator Villanueva.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation, and Finance. Majority Floor Leader.
I ask for a minute suspension, Mr. President.
Session is suspended. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, during the break, Senator Ping Lacson, who's the author of Senate Bill number 32, requested this representation, to which we agree, Mr. President, for the change of referral. And so I move that we change the referral of SB 32 from the primary committee that's supposed to handle it, electoral reforms, to the Committee on Finance, to become the primary committee and electoral reforms as secondary committee. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection?
Just finance, Mr. President. Yes, just finance, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. The referral is hereby changed to simply the Committee on
Finance. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture and with the permission of the body, pursuant to Rule 10, Section 13, in relation to Section 18 of the Rules of the Senate, I move that we proceed to the organization of various standing committees of the Senate through the election of their respective chairpersons. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Rodante Marcoleta as chairperson of the Committee on Accountability of Public Officers and Investigations. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senator Marcoleta is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Alan Peter Cayetano as chairperson of the Committee on Accounts. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, Senator Cayetano Alan is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Francis Pangilinan as chairperson of the Committee on Agriculture, Food, and Agrarian Reform. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, Senator Pangilinan is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Bam Aquino as chairperson of the Committee on Basic Education. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senator Bam Aquino is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Robin Hood Padilla as chairperson of the Committee on Constitutional Amendments and Revision of Codes. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, Senator Padilla is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Amy Marcos as chairperson of the Committee on Cooperatives. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, Senator Marcos is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Robin Hood Padilla as chairperson of the Committee on Cultural Communities and Muslim Affairs. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, Senator Padilla is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Pia Cayetano as chairperson of the Committee on Energy. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senator Cayetano Pia is so elected.
President, I move that we elect Senate President Pro Tem Jinggoy Estrada as chairperson of the Committee on National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senator Estrada is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Robin Hood Padilla as chairperson of the Committee on Public Information and Mass Media. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senator Padilla is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa as chairperson of the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senator De La Rosa is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Rafi Tulfo as chairperson of the Committee on Public Services. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senator Tulfo Rafi is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Mark Villar as chairperson of the Committee on Public Works. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senator Villar Mark is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Erwin Tulfo as chairperson of the Committee on Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, Senator Tulfo Erwin is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Bongo as chairperson of the Committee on Sports. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senator Go is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Pia Cayetano as chairperson of the Committee on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation, and Futures Thinking. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senator Cayetano Pia is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator J.V. Ejercito as chairperson of the Committee on Tourism. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senator Ejercito is so elected.
Mr. President, I move that we elect Senator Rodan.
Secretary, please proceed.
Additional reference of business bills on first reading, Senate number 51, providing for a 3-year specialized focused college education in the Philippines and authorizing the Commission on Higher Education to allow flexibility to reduce college academic years, Senator Gatchalian.
Committee on Higher Technical and Vocational Education.
52, further amending Republic Act 7836, the Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act of 1994 as amended by RA 9293, Senator Gatchalian.
Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation.
53, furthering local leadership and accountability in basic education governance to achieve quality inclusive education to the 21st century. School boards and school governing councils, Senator Gatchalian.
Local Government, Basic Education, Ways and Means, and Finance.
54, further strengthening the incentives for private sector participation in public educational institutions by amending RA 8525, the Adapt a School Act of 1998, Senator Gatchalian.
Basic Education, Higher Technical and Vocational Education, Ways and Means.
55, institutionalizing and strengthening the Arabic Language, and Islamic Values Education Program in all public and private basic education schools and appropriate funds therefore. Senator Gatchalian.
Basic Education, Cultural Communities, and Muslim Affairs, Ways and Means, and Finance.
56, amending sections 24, 32, 33, 34, 53, 57, 109, 123, and 236 of the NIRC as amended and for other purposes. Senator Gatchalian.
Ways and Means.
57, an act regulating online gambling in the Philippines. Senator Gatchalian.
Games and Amusement, and Ways and Means.
Senate number 58, amending sections 8, 144, and 225 and adding a new section 263B and 263C of the NIRC of 1997 as amended and for other purposes. Senator Gatchalian.
Ways and Means.
59, amending sections 22, 25, 27, 28, 37, 54, 73, 108, 109, 121, 122, 123, 130, 175, 180 to 185, 187, 188, 190, 194, 195, 198, 204, 222, 255, 256, 257, 261, 263, 264, 266, and 275, and repealing sections 177, 186, 192, and 193, all under RA 8424, the NIRC of 1997 as amended and for other purposes. Senator Gatchalian.
Ways and Means.
60, declaring a one-time amnesty on all unpaid internal revenue taxes imposed by the national government for taxable year 2024 and prior years. Senator Gatchalian.
Ways and Means.
61, exempting electricity sales from value-added tax, further amending sections 108 and 109 of the NIRC as amended. Senator Marcoleta.
Ways and Means and Energy.
62, protecting Filipino consumers from arbitrary price increases of liquefied petroleum gas, amending for the purpose sections 14 and 19 of RA 8479, the Downstream Oil Industry Deregulation Act of 1998. Senator Marcoleta.
Energy.
63, an act to further enhance the implementation of the lifeline rate, amending section 73 of RA 9136, the Electric Power Industry Reform Act of 2001 as amended by RA 11552. Senator Marcoleta.
Public Services and Finance.
64, establishing a national energy policy and regulatory framework for facilities utilizing waste-to-energy technology. Senator Marcoleta.
Energy, Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change, Ways and Means, and Finance.
65, creating the Barangay Affairs and Development Commission, defining its powers and functions, establishing the Barangay Development Fund and appropriating funds therefore. Senator Marcoleta.
Local Government and Finance.
66, addressing food security concerns through integrating instructional gardens in primary and secondary school curricula and promoting the use of urban agriculture and for other purposes. Senator Marcoleta.
Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, Basic Education, Ways and Means, and Finance.
67, an act granting free tertiary agricultural education and other related courses to all dependent children of qualified farmers, farm workers, or fisher folks, and deserving Filipino students and for other purposes. Senator Marcoleta.
Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, Higher Technical and Vocational Education, and Finance.
68, institutionalizing the fertilizer and pesticide subsidy program under the Department of Agriculture and appropriating funds therefore. Senator Marcoleta.
Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, and Finance.
69, establishing the Overseas Filipino Workers Social Security and Retirement System and appropriating funds therefore. Senator Marcoleta.
Migrant Workers and Finance.
70, an act exempting the underprivileged and homeless from the required payment of super CDS bond to perfect an appeal in relation to ejectment cases filed against them, amending for the purpose RA 7279, the Urban Development Housing Act. Senator Marcoleta.
Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement, and Justice and Human Rights.
71, an act granting universal social pension to senior citizens, amending RA 7432, an act to maximize the contribution of senior citizens to nation building, grant benefits, and special privileges and for other purposes. Senator Estrada.
Social Justice, Welfare, Rural Development, and Finance.
Senate number 72, an act rationalizing the Philippine basic education system by removing the senior high school education, amending pertinent provisions of RA 10533, the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, and for other purposes. Senator Estrada.
Basic Education, Finance.
73, an act defining and penalizing espionage and other offenses against national security. Senator Estrada.
National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation.
74, an act increasing the personal economic relief allowance granted to government employees to 4,000 pesos and appropriating funds therefore. Senator Estrada.
Civil Service, Government Reorganization, Professional Regulation, and Finance.
75, an act providing for a comprehensive and responsive civil registration and vital statistics system, Senator Estrada.
Justice and Human Rights and Finance.
76, an act granting senior citizens a 20% discount on travel tax, amending for the purpose RA 7432, an act to maximize the contribution of senior citizens to nation building, grant benefits, and special privilege and for other purposes, Senator Estrada.
Ways and Means, Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development.
77, providing for the establishment of a disaster food bank and stockpile for every province and highly urbanized city in the Philippines, providing for their maintenance and appropriating funds therefore, Senator Estrada.
National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, Reconciliation, and Finance.
78, modernizing the Philippine Coast Guard, creating for the purpose the Philippine Coast Guard Modernization Trust Fund and appropriating funds therefore, Senator Estrada.
Public Services, National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation, and Finance.
79, an act to provide an artificial intelligence training program for the government workforce, providing funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator Estrada.
Science and Technology, Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation, and Finance.
80, an act providing for the creation of family commission, Senator Estrada.
Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality, Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation, and Finance.
81, an act penalizing the act of wage theft by amending Articles 87 and 116 of PD 442 as amended, otherwise known as the Labor Code of the Philippines, Senator Tulfo R.
Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development.
Senate Number 82, strengthening the rights of piece rate workers, providing for stricter reportorial requirements and penalties for violations thereto, and for other purposes, Senator Tulfo R.
Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development.
83, establishing the national framework for water resource management and creating the Department of Water Resources and the Water Regulatory Commission, defining their mandate, powers, and functions, appropriating funds therefore, and for other purposes, Senator Tulfo R.
Public Services, Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation, Ways and Means, and Finance.
84, providing for a Magna Carta of commuters, Senator Tulfo R.
Public Services and Finance.
85, mandating monetary compensation for overtime work and work rendered during rest days and special holidays of public health workers, amending Section 16 and 17 of RA 7305, the Magna Carta of Public Health Workers, and for other purposes, Senator Tulfo R.
Civil Service, Government Reorganization, Professional Regulation, Health and Demography, and Finance.
86, mandating law enforcement officers to use a body-worn camera during law enforcement operations, providing penalties for violations and providing funds therefore, Senator Tulfo R.
Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, and Finance.
87, expanding the coverage of free school meals program and mandating the procurement from small-scale farmers in the implementation of the National Feeding Program, amending RA 11037, otherwise known as the Masustansyang Pagkain para sa Batang Pilipino Act, Senator Tulfo R.
Basic Education and Youth.
88, amending PD 1183 as amended, otherwise known as the decree amending and consolidating the provisions of travel tax of RA 1478 as amended and RA 6141, prescribing the manner of collection thereof, providing penalties for violations thereof, and for other purposes, Senator Tulfo R.
Ways and Means and Tourism.
89, amending RA 9262 or the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004, expanding the scope of protection of all forms of domestic violence regardless of sexual orientation, providing for the same protective measures, prescribing the same penalties therefore, and for other purposes, Senator Tulfo R.
Women, Children, Family Relations, Gender Equality, and Finance.
90, providing for a free financial education to overseas Filipino workers and their families, Senator Tulfo R.
Migrant Workers.
91, establishing the Philippine Scam Prevention Center and providing funds therefore, Senator Villar M.
Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies, Justice and Human Rights, and Finance.
92, granting enhanced protection to consumers, amending RA 7394 of the Consumer Act of the Philippines as amended, Senator Villar M.
Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship, and Health and Demography.
93, an act providing for a Magna Carta of commuters, Senator Villar M.
Public Services and Finance.
94, providing an alert system for abducted or missing persons in the Philippines, Senator Villar M.
Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, Public Information and Mass Media, and Finance.
95, granting universal social pension to senior citizens, amending RA 7432 as amended, or the act to maximize the contribution of senior citizens to nation building, grant benefits, and special privileges, and for other purposes, Senator Villar M.
Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development, and Finance.
Senate Number 96, providing for educational assistance to children and the independence of farmers and fisher folk, providing funds therefore, Senator Villar M.
Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, Basic Education, Finance.
97, providing for a free annual medical checkup for all Filipinos and appropriating funds therefore, Senator Villar M.
Health and Demography and Finance.
98, an act integrating basic road safety and comprehensive driver's education in the curriculum of the Enhanced Basic Education K-12 program, Senator Villar M.
Basic Education, Finance.
99, an act promoting the adoption of digital payments for financial transactions of the government and all merchants, Senator Villar M.
Banks, financial institutions, and currencies and finance.
100, an act adjusting the benefits of all barangay officials, including barangay tanauts and members of the Luponang Tagapamayapa, amending Section 393 of RA 7160 as amended, the Local Government Code of 1991, Senator Villar M.
Local Government, Ways and Means and Finance.
Second additional reference to business resolutions. Resolution of both houses number 1. Resolution of both houses of Congress calling for a constitutional convention to revise the 1987 Philippine and the Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, Senator Padilla.
Constitutional amendments and revision of codes.
Proposed Senate Resolution 3, directing the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Food, and Agrarian Reform to conduct an inquiry to review the functions and mandate of the NFA with the end in view of restoring its regulatory functions, Senator Tulfo E.
Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform.
Number 4, directing the appropriate Senate Committee to conduct an investigation on the status of the implementation of RA 11861, the Expanded Solo Parents Act, with the end in view of ensuring that monthly cash subsidy are efficiently received by solo parents, Senator Tulfo E.
Women, Children, Family Relations and Gender Equality, Social Justice, Welfare, Rural Development and Finance.
Proposed Senate Resolution 5, directing the Senate Committee on Agriculture and Food and Agrarian Reform to conduct an inquiry into the persistently high prices of food and other basic agricultural commodities with the end in view of identifying urgent interventions to ensure food affordability, strengthen food security, and protect consumers from excessive price increases, Senator Pangilinan.
Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform.
Resolution number 6, directing the appropriate Senate Committee to conduct an inquiry on the protection of indigenous and ancestral lands with the end in view of strengthening the rights of indigenous cultural communities and indigenous peoples to freely determine the manner of development of their ancestral domains and to ensure that such lands remain under the control and stewardship, Senator Tulfo E.
Cultural Communities and Muslim Affairs.
Number 7, resolution directing the Senate Committee on Environment and Natural Resources and Climate Change to conduct an investigation to review all existing special land use permits, licenses, and agreements granted by the DNR for the occupation, utilization, exploitation of forest or timberlands in light of reports of illegal occupation, encroachment, and land grabbing, Senator Tulfo E.
Environment, Natural Resources and Climate Change.
Resolution number 8, urging the Maritime Industry Authority to review the conduct of seafarers training and refresher courses with the end in view of implementing virtual or online training modalities to reduce burden on seafarers, Senator Tulfo E.
Public Services.
Number 9, directing the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Food, and Agrarian Reform to conduct an inquiry on the implementation of RA 11321, the Sagip-Saka Act, to enhance farmer and fisherfolk empowerment, Senator Pangilinan.
Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform and Ways and Means.
Resolution number 10, directing the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Food, and Agrarian Reform to conduct an inquiry on restoring the regulatory and market intervention powers of the NFA and amending RA 11203, the rice tarification law, to lower prices and ensure food security, Senator Pangilinan.
Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform.
Resolution number 11, directing the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform to conduct an inquiry on the impact of allowing commercial fishing within the 15-kilometer municipal waters on small-scale fishers, food security, and marine resources, Senator Pangilinan.
Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform.
Resolution number 12, directing the appropriate Senate Committee to conduct an inquiry on the proliferation of online gambling and lending in the Philippines with the end in view of formulating stricter regulatory measures to protect Filipinos from its harmful socio-economic effects, Senator Ejercito.
Games and Amusement.
Resolution number 13, directing the appropriate Senate Committee to conduct an inquiry on the possible measures that the Philippine government can implement to reduce the cost of electricity in the light of the ongoing global tensions, deliberate starvation, and mass killings of Palestinian civilians in the occupied territories, Senator Padilla.
Rules.
Number 15, directing the appropriate Senate Committee to conduct an inquiry into the alleged payment or offering of incentives to witnesses testifying in Senate inquiries with the end in view of protecting the integrity of the legislative process and ensuring accountability and fairness in public hearings, Senator Padilla.
Rules.
16, directing the Senate Committee on Public Services to conduct an inquiry into the findings of the Commission on Audit regarding issues and irregularities in joint venture agreements entered into by local water districts with private entities with the end goal of developing a robust legal and regulatory framework to ensure transparency, accountability, fairness, and empowerment of water districts and the consuming public. Senator Antiveros.
Public Services.
17, expressing the sense of the Senate to urge the Philippines to advocate before the International Criminal Court for the interim release of former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, including inter alia entering into an arrangement with the ICC to receive custody of FPRRD in the form of house arrest or modified house arrest or any other appropriate arrangement in the premises of the Philippine Embassy in The Hague, Netherlands. Senator Cayetano AP.
Rules.
18, expressing the sense of the Senate, strongly urging the Philippine government to advocate before the International Criminal Court for the interim release of former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte in a form of house arrest arrangement in a residence in The Hague, the Netherlands. Senators De La Rosa, Go, and Padilla.
Rules.
19, resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry into the engagement of learners in online gambling for the purpose of crafting policy recommendations and responsive legislation. Senator Gatchalian.
Games and Amusements and Youth.
20, resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry into the regulatory framework and rate-setting methodology employed by the ERC in transmission wheeling rates with the end in view of ensuring the best interests of consumers. Senator Gatchalian.
Energy.
21, directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry on the proliferation of unauthorized online lending applications and their employment of unfair and abusive debt collection practices. Senator Gatchalian.
Banks, financial institutions, and currencies.
22, resolution directing the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform to conduct an inquiry into the status and challenges in optimizing Mindanao's role as the country's food basket, addressing food insecurity and promoting sustainable agricultural development. Senator Pangilinan.
Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform.
23, directing the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform to conduct an inquiry into the implementation of RA 11524, the Coconut Farmers and Industry Trust Fund Act. Senator Pangilinan.
Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, and Finance. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, may I just be allowed to acknowledge some guests from the gallery? We have with us, Mr. President, one of the most respected Christian leader of this country, Tito Butch Belica. He is here with us together with his son, former Cabinet Secretary Greco Belica. May we acknowledge him?
Yes,
Mr.
welcome to your Philippine Senate.
Thank you. Mr. President, may I ask for a minute suspension? Mr. President?
Session suspended.
Thank you. Mr. President, I move that we adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, July 30, 2025. So move, Mr.
Is
President.
there any objection? There being none, the session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, July 30, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. President.